to work as my mom's assistant at, where did she work? Remax Today. So she was working at Remax Today, San Carlos, and my mom was selling real estate. So when I grew up at her ballet store. I think I told you that. So she had to, my parents got divorced when I was in late middle school, and then my dad kind of was out of the picture for a while. I love him very much. Everything's cool. But there was a time when it was a bit tumultuous. And so
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. And so at that time, he was out of the house. And then my mom had to step in and kind of take over and make sure that the family would be funded for all the things you need it for. And so she sold the ballet studio because retail has a cap. You can only ever do so much. And actually, I'm at that place in the recording studio side with my price point and how many clients I can service right now. I'm at a cap. My income has capped. And that's an interesting thing to reach, because now what has to happen is I have to increase my price per song, price per mix, and so I can increase my daily value to earn more money, which means I have to charge more, or I have to find a way to get more hours every day so that I can juggle more projects, i.e. an assistant. So obviously the couple would be perfect. I'd love to increase my price and get an assistant, because then I'd have more work hours every day that I can subcontract and profit from, but also give tasks that are not to be a jerk, but beneath me, such as mix prep. Wouldn't it be wonderful if my time wasn't ever spent mix prepping or receiving files after a deal was struck? If I had an assistant that would say, come in and be like, all right, Bob, now that you guys have a contract in place, I'm Dan's assistant and I'm going to take over file delivery and session setup and then charting the song. And it was all done the way I like it. So it might as well be my work trained by an assistant. So the benefit of an assistant when you get to this point, and I believe never getting to the point before you're ready for it, would be you have so much work that the phrase you constantly utter is, I need more hours in the day. And I say that, and I say that, and I say that. And the reality is the only way to get more hours in the day is with employees. So I got from the Grammy U mentorship program, which they give college credits. Nikki is my current mentee, and I'm going to give her the opportunity to be groomed into my assistant in the most positive of ways. And I will hopefully at one point pass off mix prep to her, pass off file communication, what they used to call tops and tails, which is like naming and file delivery and cleaning up recordings, right? Clipping the top and clipping the tail and labeling and all the things that are, it's like you don't need a PhD to label files, right? And that's not to say anything about Nikki's role, but we all start somewhere. I wish when I was 19, someone had hired me as their audio assistant, right?
Same here, man.
Yeah,
I'm
right?
with you.
So
100%.
When do we achieve these things? And this is what happened with my mom. She said, well, she and I have always had a real tight relationship. And so she said, well, you're at Starbucks and you got to quit Starbucks because you're dating the boss. So what should you do? Why don't you come work for me? Because I was a bit floundering. I was DJing, right? I was DJing and I was going to the studio and I was making my white labels. And then I was working at Starbucks during the day and I was going to community college in the morning and I was just sort of doing general education and floundering. She said, well, come be my assistant. At that point, I dropped out of community college because I just didn't care. And I went full-time to work as my mom's assistant. And I worked as her assistant in the real estate office I was a secretary, and I got my real estate license. And then she sent me to Floyd Wickman's Sweat Hogs Sales Training Academy. And every Wednesday I would drive 2 hours north from where I lived. So I'd go through San Francisco all the way up to Santa Rosa. And I remember Chronic 2001 had just come out and I used to listen to that religiously.
I love that record.
Yeah. And it had just come out. It was a very exciting time. And I would listen to it. And this was such a great time in my life. I look back on, I was single. No, I wasn't single. That was after Julia. Okay, so Julia and I had broken up and I was single at this point. And I would drive through, go to my class, my sales class, which was 4 hours of like hard selling. And I'll explain that in another second. And then I would come back, and on my way back, I would stop through San Francisco. I would stop in Haight Street, and I would go record shopping, and I'd pick through crates, go have lunch down on Haight Street, stop at Ben & Jerry's, go over to Golden Gate Park, smoke a doob, drive home with my new vinyl, and then spin records all night in my my bedroom. And then it was at that time when I started then going back to, so this is like 2001 to 2003. And that's when I went back to college in 2003 because I was like, okay, I want to make these. So what I learned at the sales program was invaluable because there's so many sales idioms that I could tell you and whatever. But what was really great about Floyd Wickman's sales program is that he was a really great salesman. And so he would tell you what to say and make you repeat it. And he would explain to you what's going on. And then you would just use his words. And there was these cassette tapes that I would put in my car and I would listen to them all the way up there of him doing these lectures. And what happened is over time, osmosis and his words would come out of my mouth. And then sitting in that office as a secretary, listening to how my mom conducted herself and handled business, her words would come out of my mouth. And I just learned it from living it. And that's the most important part about being an intern or assistant to somebody. So right now, Nikki, my Grammy mentee, I don't have her doing anything janitorial or assistant-like because I don't believe that's her job right now. Right now, she's a baby and her job is to take notes. And so I make her come in and as much as she's available, just come sit on the couch behind me, take notes, and when it's over, I'll answer any questions you have. And I just need you to absorb it because what's going to happen is I'm going to Miyagi her and she's going to say, okay, how do I produce a record? And I'm going to say, how do I produce a record? And she's going to say, well, you start with guitars and then you do all your post-production and then you bring in your bass. And then Caleb comes in and they read the charts and they da-da-da-da. And she's going to recite it back to me without ever having to think about it because it's happened so many times. And that's really the key to training an assistant. I want her to watch me tune vocals and Melodyne 100 times. Then I'm going to give her one to go experiment with, and then I'll grade her on how good she does. And then when I trust that she can nail it because she's watched me do it 100 times, and then she does it on her own and she does well, it's time to subcontract. At that point, that's 2 hours of my life I just got back. And from a business perspective, at a profit because she's not worth what I'm worth. And that's not to diss her. I've been doing it 20 years. So a really good wage for her, if it's $40 an hour, is not what I make. So there's a profit to be made there because I can subcontract those to her. They'll be just as good. It's my mentee, and I can not only get more work hours in the day, but also profit off those work hours, right? So this is as your business grows, this is why it happens this way. So what I learned from being in real estate was so multifaceted, but specifically marketing, branding, and sales. And marketing, there's a thing they do in real estate called the farm. And I think anybody's experienced this where you have a realtor's calendar on your refrigerator or you grew up with a magnet on your refrigerator of that one realtor that sends you stuff every month. And that used to be the way it worked is that they'd have what they called a farm. And so literally they planted seeds by mailers every month. And when I was a kid, I was 12 and we used to do stamps. I used to put stamps on postcards for a nickel a stamp. And that's how I made money when I was 12 because I've always been fairly industrious. And so I would go down to the real estate office and I would do stamps for people. And these other realtors would hand me 500 stamps and 500 mailers and I would lick in envelopes and I was just mailing their marketing materials. And you pick a territory, you canvass the territory, and you religiously market to them until the seeds become fruit, the fruit becomes ripe, and then they pick themselves and come to you to make a pie, right? So you have to have a long-term goal when it comes to marketing and strategy because, and this is really where social media presences have evolved into, and that's kind of the beauty of Instagram and TikTok is that you have a long-term presence. It's not a flash in the pan thing. A sponsored ad is a flash in the pan, right? There's nothing behind it. But people who find your YouTube channel and see 10 years of you being a badass, or they go to your TikTok and they're like, "Whoa, that's awesome." There's a history there, and they can see you and they go, "Wow, I want that," right? And so they're looking at the visuals, the optics. They're looking at the experience. That looks fun. He's cool. So there's a lot of things that came into real estate that I still adopt today. The uniform. So I've talked about this before, but I think it's really important how people dress, whether or not you're in front of somebody. Personal sense of style is very powerful, even when you are rejecting it like Steve Jobs. If you think of Stephen Slate, if you close your eyes and think of Stephen Slate, what is he wearing right now?
A black t-shirt.
V-neck, right?
Yep.
He's got his tattoos on down his arms. I remember when he got those tattoos. I remember how that changed his optics. And he's got maybe a jacket on sometimes, perfect groomed beard. He's got his hair. Does that mean I need to do all those things? No. But Stephen Slate has a voice. He has a character. He has a brand. He has a persona that is who he is. Now, I know Stephen personally. I've spent a lot of time with him in the past when I lived in Los Angeles. And I can tell you, he's a great guy. And he's not the guy in the videos. He is the guy in the videos. But actually, Will Smith said this in an interview. It was Will Smith and Martin Lawrence talking on Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God. And he said, Will Smith has been good to me. And he was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, I am Will Smith, but I'm not Will Smith. Evidenced by recent events at the Grammys, Will Smith is not Will Smith. He's not the Fresh Prince. He's his own human, right? And so that idea that Stephen Slate is Stephen Slate, but he's not Stephen Slate. Stephen Slate that we know and love, and the brand, and this comes back to Dr. Ford. Personally, Daniel is not Dr. Ford. The persona that I show up with every day, the shoes that I wear, literally the shoes that I wear, I think about these things because that's JJP as well. If you close if you close your eyes and imagine Jack Joseph Puig, what does he look like? He's got probably a really cool hat on, and he's got those diamond pins on his collar, and maybe he's wearing a scarf, and he's got his goatee in his face, and he's in black thing. What about Andrew Sheps? His beard. What about Rick Rubin? Crazy hair and a beard. What about Michael Brower? It's the glasses, and I can see his face, right? The personas of our business are very important, and in real estate, they have that. Everybody has that, but it's usually a car and it's usually a photo and it's a certain suit or it's whatever, right? Whatever they pick to represent themselves in a high-class business scenario, because when they walk into your house, they're coming to, I want to sell your house. And they pull up in their car and they park in front of your house. And at that first impulse, you see how successful this person is. And that's not to say that material objects like cars define our success, but they give a glimpse to it, because nobody who's driving up in a Porsche isn't working, right? And if you show up in a Ford Fiesta that's 10 years old, this guy's not really working, right? Or he's brand new. And so part of that, how we show up every day to the job, even if it's you in a bedroom, I challenged myself a long time ago to care about the way that I present myself. So I'm usually in a ball cap because of the overhead lighting in the studio gets in my eyebrows, and I'm always messing with it. So I typically always have a baseball cap on because I like the baseball cap to stop the lights, but I still want the overhead lights on the console. So that's just a funny thing that happens. Otherwise, I'll do my hair, but I have a very specific style that is me, that I've developed and I actually think about. And so I have brands of the shoes that I like to frequent because I like these brands. I have a brand of t-shirts, or well, not t-shirts, but collared shirts that I wear. They all, 20 of my shirts come from the same brand because I just like the way I look in their stuff and whatever. So caring about these things, it's not being self-centric or egocentric. It's not being tied to cosmetics, but it's about the persona that you present to the clients you're marketing to, because they should know you at first sight. It's like falling in love at first sight. Like, I want that. I want you to say, whoa, this dude's badass, for whatever that means. Connect with me. Now, I make country music, so it can't be too badass, right? It's got to be, I can't be this edgy Mohawk dude unless that's my shtick. But then the music I make better reflect that. And the clients I get will reflect that. And that's not who I am. So I'm a little bit up the middle. So I want to be able to weave in and out. I'm not classier than the next guy. So I'm a bit casual, but I actually care. So I'm fashionable. You know what I'm saying? Finding where we all live in that spectrum. Some people shave the side of their head. And some people are East Nashville hippie beards. You know what I mean? So it's okay that we are unique, but I believe we do need to define ourselves, the persona and the brand, because the brand identification, the logo that is you, it's your face, it's how you present. So the gear, the studio, the lighting, the look of it, again, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. but you're in the Emerald City in the Wizard of Oz, right? You can't help but follow the Yellow Brick Road, and you walk into the gates and there's guards, and it's like, oh my God, I've been let into the palace. So that's another reason why I rent space here at the Sound Kitchen. And my clients come through the front and they walk through the gates of the palace and they walk down the hallway past the Platinum Records. And there's my studio. It's quite the cachet to have this room, and it's expensive, and I pay for it. And the landlord literally said to me, we know what we have. We know what we're giving you. I get access to their brand. I've bought into it and I pay for